welcome to the Festival of Storytellers.
I can't tell you how excited I am to be on right now. It's been a couple of weeks of excitement, getting prepared, and I've done a lot of things in my life, but this has got to be close to the top.
Thank you, Reader's Magnet, and thank you, John, for putting this forth and taking the chance on us authors in presenting this out to the world.
I've enjoyed this immensely, Joanne.
Ellie, so have I. Thank you for who you are, and thank you, Reader's Magnet. You all are beautiful, and you've worked so very hard, and we are blessed.
We are.
I thank everybody that's involved with this process, because we know writers need readers and writers need publishers. We thank Reader's Magnet and everybody that's involved. I love Reader's Magnet. They say, we share your stories with the world.
Hello, everyone. We have another night of engaging with one another about my book. The title of my book is Love Has a Voice. I always can't get this camera right, but Love Has a Voice. And I was inspired to write my story by God because He let me know that the experiences that I had gone through could help somebody else who may be going through the same experiences, or to prevent someone from going through the same experiences that I went through. The last session that we had, I had started talking about chapter 4, my sacrifice, and the man that God chose for me to be with. And I had started with the dating and the first date that we had gone on. And after that first date, he took me home, and we said our goodbyes, no kissing, no any of that. And from that point on, he asked if he can continue to see me. And I told him yes. And we went on date after date, trying to get to know each other still. But still me not asking the right questions. I think I was trying not to delve too deep into his life. And so I kept the conversation light and enjoy the company and enjoy the evening. Even after we had gone on all these dates, and he would take me to these 5-star restaurants, and he was a total gentleman. He would pull my chair out. He would open my car door and take my hand and help me out the car. And so like I said, I saw no signs of any issues or anything going on with him that raised the red flag to me. And we were going on these dates, and when we would come home, like we would sit in the car for about 10 to 15 minutes and talk. One particular time that we came home, I saw my ex-boyfriend's car in front of my house. And so I mentioned it to my husband and told him. And so we pulled around the front, sat and talked. And I thought if we sit and talk, maybe he'll be gone by the time we finish talking, but he was not gone. He was still there. He was in my house talking to my mother, trying to get my mom to convince me to take him back, come back to him. And so I went in the house, and my mom was in there, and they were talking, and Joe didn't come in. I just got out the car, and he let him pull off. And so I would go to work as normal. And it's so crazy because my ex-boyfriend and I worked at the same job. And so he worked at night, I worked in the daytime. I would come to work in the day. There would be notes on my desk, and he would periodically leave notes on the car. And so one day I came home, and he was at my house, and he was there, and I asked why was he there, and he said he needed to talk to me. And so I said, okay. We went and we talked, but the talking ended up, other stuff happened. So then I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? I knew I wasn't in love with my husband. I knew that, but I just enjoyed his company. And I was trying to avoid getting hurt and hurting him, because I knew that I didn't give myself enough time to heal from the last relationship with my ex-boyfriend. I was still in love with him. And I knew that. And I was trying to, I guess, suppress the feelings that I had for him so that I could move on. And Dorothy Williams, what is the most important thing in a relationship? Trust, communication. You must have communication, and the trust. You have to have that trust, especially if you want that relationship to flourish. If you want that relationship to flourish, and you feel that is the relationship that you want to build your life upon, and that person is the person you want to build a life with, then you have to have communication. You have to have trust. You basically, you have to pay attention. Just pay attention to everything. And it's so crazy, because I always say things are crazy, but it's so crazy because during my dating with my husband, the communication was there, but it wasn't a communication that I felt was enough to make me make the choice to be with him for a lifetime, if that makes sense. I think I was more into the dating and the company, and just being able to go out on dates and just to be with somebody, protecting my heart. I didn't want to get my heart involved at the time. And so I was just in the moment. I think I was just in the moment. And so, being in the moment like that, and not really making a decision whether this man is the man that I want to spend the rest of my life with, I left I think I left the door open for my ex to come back in. I think I did that, and I think that's what I was hoping that would happen. And it wasn't right. I know it wasn't right, but it felt good. It felt okay being that now he's pursuing me. He's coming after me. did he realize that he made the choice? What if the communication isn't detailed? That's the point. When the communication is not detailed, you have to try to pull out what you want from that person, or if you want to know something about that person, you have to find a way to communicate it without communicating it to the point where you're being suspicious, or you're being if you just want to know something, I think you should say it. And which I wish I had done in my relationships. I wish I had spoke out. I wish I had asked the right questions. I wish I had, instead of taking face value what was said to me and being okay with that. Because had I dug deeper, or had I asked the right questions, I think if he had nothing to hide, I hopefully he would have answered whatever questions I had. And so I didn't start like asking questions or trying to communicate more into his personal life until after I married him. And because I know Oblin. Hi Robin. I'm very excited to hear the story of your book again. I guess I'll take my dinner later. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. And so it's like I caused myself to be in a type of a triangle, because here I have my ex coming in, and here I have my date involved in this, and I'm trying to figure out, okay, how do I handle this? Because I was trying to tell my ex I'm dating somebody else. To me, it wasn't serious, but we were still dating, and I think the lines were crossed there. But he didn't think that, and so he ended up showing up at my house again, and this time he brought a ring, and he sat me down on the sofa. He pulled the ring out, and now this is what I wanted from the beginning. This is what I was waiting for. But now when it came like this, I'm like, I know he's not serious, because he already told me he was not ready to settle down. So when he proposed to me and asked me to marry him, I took the ring, looked at it, I gave it back to him, and I told him no. And he was shocked, because he knew how I felt about him. I was shocked. But I'm like, are you trying to play with my heart? Why are you doing this now, when this is what I wanted all along? And so I believe that it was because Precious. Hi, Robin. Can you give me suggestions on how I can make my man content? I'm really scared that he will eventually leave me. Just be you. If you're a good person and you're treating him good and you're being good to him, just be you. And if it's meant for you to be with him, it will work. But I suggest you start to invite God into your relationship, and ask God to give you how to communicate. Ask God to give you how to talk to him, and God will help you. He will show you what to do. He will show you what to say and how to say it, because eventually I started communicating with my husband, and we were totally opposites when it came to communicating on the same subjects. His focus was totally different from mine, and so I had to learn how to start being interested in what he was interested in, and being able to communicate with him through what he was interested in. And then in the middle of that, I interjected what I wanted to hear from him. And so it takes God to give you how to do what you need to do, and how to communicate. Because sometimes we tend to get our feelings and our emotions involved, and you have to let that person be that person. And at the same time that you're trying to make him content, you be content. Be content with you, because it's not about you, but it is about you. You have to care about you first before you can care about somebody else. And you have to be content with you before you can be content with somebody else. And so I hope I answered your question. Jenny, what is your language of love? My language of love is God. I keep saying that because he is love, and he's the foundation of love. And so I don't know why, because I thought when I got married, I'm like, I got married and I don't have a manual telling me how to be a wife. I don't have a manual telling me how to love my husband. But in the Bible, in Corinthians, it tells you how to treat your husband and how your husband should treat you. And so you have to have that language of love that God has, that language that speaks through your heart, and then it'll speak through your actions, because your actions will do what your heart is saying. I hope I answered that question, Jenny. And so I'll have more questions. Did you ever grow to love your husband? If yes, when you realized it was an assignment, was it just an assignment, or did you stay because you loved him? Oh, wow. I grew to love, let me say this, I was growing to love my husband. And by the time I realized my husband didn't know how to love me, because had my husband loved me, the feelings that I had for my ex-boyfriend would have gone away. But because he did not replace the love I had for the ex-boyfriend with his love, that allowed that love that I had for my ex to stay there. It was suppressed, but it was there. And I realized that I only could love him as much as he would allow me to love him. I cared about him. I was concerned about him. I liked him. I loved him, but he didn't allow me to fall in love with him. And when I thought that I might have been falling in love with him, things would always happen to make me question it. And so I realized that my marriage was an assignment later down, like maybe 16 years down the line. But I kept following this pattern that God was trying to guide me. But I couldn't relate it to an assignment, if that makes sense. I didn't call it an assignment. I just was saying God was using me and using my life as a sacrifice to show my husband real love, real care, everything that I did was about him. And it was to the point where the first 5 years of my marriage, and I know I've jumped from the dating to the marriage, but I'm going based off the question, so I'm going to stay there. The first 5 years of my marriage, God taught me, learn him, learn everything about him. And so I started learning his traits. I started learning what he was interested in. I started learning his clothing size, and even down to his underwear. I knew everything about that man. And he couldn't even surprise me with a pair of shoes, because he did not study me. And I was very detailed about what I knew about him. I knew him really well. It was, I knew him to the point where even though I knew how he would react when he started thinking about his past, it still, it was like I was walking on eggshells because I didn't know what kind of reaction he would have based on that. And so I would get up. I want to know, will you be doing a marriage counseling class? Oh, marriage counseling classes. I never thought about that. But I will have to, like, I would have to consult God on that. And I'm trying to be very careful with how I answer your questions. Now I know my book is very detailed, but I'm talking to you, and as I talk to you live, I allow the Holy Spirit to give me what to say. And so I would have to consult him regarding doing marriage counseling classes, because I care about your life. I care about your soul. I care about your relationship. And I want to make sure I'm not interjecting any of my personal feelings or personal thoughts into that. I want God to, like, at the self same hour, word my mouth and give me what to say to people that will help you and heal you. I have so much encouragement inside of me. It's crazy. And I love encouraging people. I love giving people the right tools to make things work for them and to make their relationship work for me. The tools that God gave me that helped me was the word. And he had me to start listening at different speakers and preachers that could help my spirit man become alive. Precious Maria, is there a possibility that communication won't work? There is a possibility that communication won't work. It's all in how you communicate, and it's all in how the person responds to you and how you respond to the person. Communication works when you're both calm and not in an uproar and already got your feelings and your emotions at 100. You don't want to hear communicating. You want to get things resolved, and you resolve it in your way. But my husband used to fuss. He used to argue. I wouldn't argue with him. I would let him argue. I would have tears falling, but I would let him argue and get it out of the system, because I don't like drama. I never like drama, and I don't like confusion. I like peace, and I'll do whatever I have to do for me to be at peace. And so he would fuss about something, and I would, okay, what is it that you need me to do? And my calmness that I had, because I wouldn't come back at him, he would eventually call me if I was at work. It would bother him. He would call me and apologize. Was it sincere? May have been and may not have been, but it made me feel okay that he recognized that he hurt me verbally. And so sometimes communication won't work, but when it don't work, you have to re-strategize and find another way to communicate so that it works. And so, yeah, so yeah. Oh, okay, the questions keep popping up. So we're gonna have a question session and question and answer, okay? Helen Richardson, do you believe that love is a choice? Love is a choice. It's a choice, because you choose whether you're ready to get your heart involved. Because when you love, you can't love without your heart being involved. And so it's a choice. But make sure that you're making the choice and not the other person. because you have to choose whether you're willing to love. And so sometimes we want something so bad to happen, or we want somebody so bad till we make the choice, like I did, make the choice to love a person without really knowing a person. So the love choice is get to know the person. And then that will give you whether you're really wanting to make the choice to love or not. But yes, love is a choice. Anybody else have questions? Because every time okay, do you think that second chances really work? Some do. Some happen, and I think if it's meant to be for somebody to be with you, and that person comes back in your life, it could happen. My ex-boyfriend came back in my life, but as a friend, because I made the choice to let it stay as friends. Now, if I wanted to, I can make it more than just friends. But I'm holding to my standard. I'm holding to my morals, and I'm holding to what God placed in me. I'm not going to give that up because my ex came back in my life, and he's been back in my life since 2003, and we talk, and he might want more, but I'm standing my ground. And he would say, well, this is your ex. I mean, I'm like, I know, I'm not the same woman that was with you back then. I'm a whole nother woman. I'm more settled, and I'm more grown. I've grown so much, and I've learned so much about me and loving me, and being okay by myself until God send me that man for me. Now, if it's my ex, he might have to line up a little bit, because I'm totally in another place, and it's so precious to be at peace, and it's so precious to be able to say I'm my own woman, and I would love to love again. I would love to have another relationship and another husband, but I trust and believe I will be more more engaged in the person, the personality of that person. I will ask more questions. I will, and I won't be afraid. I won't be afraid because knowing what happened in my first marriage, by not asking the right questions and not being more not unafraid to ask him personal questions that he's gone through, I won't make that mistake again. Because if I show you who I am and I'm showing you all of me, I have nothing to hide. And I always say, and I've been saying this lately, that we are emotional hoarders. If we're in a relationship and that relationship ends, we pack our suitcase with all that all the emotions, everything we went through, all the hurt, all the pain, and we take that suitcase and drag it to another relationship. And then when we get with that person, if they do something that trigger what you've been through, you open the suitcase and take them emotions out and just plant them. And so what we're supposed to do is, when we get out of a relationship, give us time to heal, give space to totally heal and grow from that. And then when you go into another relationship, when you take your suitcase, when he opens that suitcase, it's empty. And now he can fill it with him and you. And so we have to give ourselves space and time between every relationship. We shouldn't be so quick to go into another relationship. And I did that. I was like, from this relationship and ended up right with my husband. We dated a whole year, but like 4-5 months in that year, I was still being interrupted with the ex. And until eventually he saw that I wasn't changing. And then that's when he knew that I wasn't going to change. Then I definitely did that. Had to heal, still healing, honestly. Yes, healing, everybody healed differently. And some healings take long. Some healings are fast. It's all in how you process what happened. And I said, what happened between me and my ex, we didn't hate each other. We didn't leave each other bitter and all that. It was just differences. He wanted not to get married, and I wanted to get married. But then eventually he changed his mind and wanted to marry me. But by that time, my thinking is, you're not serious. You don't really want to be with me. You just don't want me to be with somebody else. And so, and I had to stick to that. No matter how much he was like being persistent and pursuing and being persistent and pursuing, I had to stay in that space. Uh-oh, you can wrap up in 2 minutes. Okay, it's time for me to wrap up, you guys. This was so engaging. Oh my gosh, it was awesome. Thank you guys. I pray that you guys, thank you for sharing your story. You are so welcome. And you guys can go to Amazon.com, Barnes and Nobles, to pick up my book. I have one more session with you guys on Friday, and then that will be it. So, but I've enjoyed it. I've gotten a little more relaxed. My first times I was very nervous, but I've gotten a little more relaxed. You guys make me feel so comfortable. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I really do. I appreciate it. And I hope I answered all of your questions to your satisfaction. And if I didn't, if you want to still do questions, I don't know if you can still do them or not. But any questions that I might have missed, I might be able to go back and see them and then get them so that I can answer your questions. Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys. Thank you, Reader's Magnet, for this platform. I appreciate it so much. I'm so humbled.